Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. It is time. We are here. It is not going to be a Malian in sight. I'm sure you'll be very disappointed to know that. Welcome to game number 5. This is a best of 5 series, so this is match point. The winner here takes everything. It's imperative that LucifroN tries to power through. He doesn't want to fight against his brother in the grand finals. And if he loses this game, he will. So, spawning on the east side of the map in the color yellow. On the Delhi Sultanate, it is LucifroN7. And on the west side of the map, the color red. Playing as the Chinese representing Izzy Esports, it's MarineLorD.
LucifroN starting with a very much offset dock. This is not super common on this map. Usually you see players going for more of the central approach. But what's more surprising is that MarineLorD is kind of doing the same thing on the other side. Yesterday, when he has played this matchup, it was a much more centralized dock, kind of halfway in between the two players, and then he followed it up with a Barbican rush. Remains to be seen if he's going to do the same thing today, though, because, as you can see, that dock from LucifroN is going to be very far away from him.
Yeah, it's interesting that both players went for the exact same thing. As you mentioned, it's typically towards the center. But staying away as far as they can from each other. So definitely signals they want to play it a bit passively. Now, another thing to note is that MarineLorD's got relatively good sacred site spawns as well. The central sacred site in particular, quite close to him. So going to make it easy for him to look to contest those sacred sites. Maybe even throw down a wall across the center. Could be an option for him.
Yeah, sacred site spawn is definitely interesting. If you kind of consider the pawns, that halfway separating line between the two players, then technically MarineLorD has 2 sites on his side, and that could be a factor, because obviously that central sacred site, LucifroN could cap it, but if MarineLorD has a dock on that pond, it could make it much more difficult.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's a bit of an interesting spawn, isn't it? But I guess realistically, when you look at it like that, the only real way to fix that would be to put the sacred site smack bang in the middle between those 2 ponds, and that would actually be quite interesting, I suspect. But not the case here. Now, how many docks do we see these guys go into in the Dark Age? Is it just going to be a single dock opening for both of these guys, and then maybe a second and third dock once the Feudal Age hits?
Most likely. Usually what we see from players here is at least the second dock being dropped. Remains to be seen where that goes up, I feel. I think that's the big wildcard right now. Where are we having that second dock from either of these players? A lot could come down to how MarineLorD approaches this, especially if he thinks about the Barbican drop. Could be maybe towards the middle, kind of set himself up with a second dock position there. Or he could try to aggress the initial pawn of LucifroN. But I think he's going to be the one that kind of sets up the landscape, so to say, going into Feudal Age.
There's a really interesting spot there he could place a Barbican next to that central sacred site. He can deny that sacred site and at the same time use it to deny out the second pond that LucifroN's got access to. So that's a factor as well that he could look to play into. But obviously it's quite far away from where you do start off, so it'd be a bit dangerous. Maybe if the Delhi commits to play a bit more heavily on the Feudal, you're going to be exposed if you do that.
Yeah, second dock now coming in here. It's going to be on the adjacent pond for MarineLorD. And for LucifroN, I don't think he's going for a second pond just yet. Remains to be seen if he's just going to concentrate his fishing ships on one pond, though. He's got 5 of them already.
Yeah, and it looks like he's heading into a 6th one as well, so really looking to go quite ham up towards this north side. The Age of about to come through for LucifroN as well. Macro a little bit off here. Now that click up comes through. He's going Tower of Victory. So should be able to deal with the enemy Shukunu relatively well, having Tower of Victory. The trades aren't terrible. They're still not favorable, though. So you want to avoid taking them where possible. But MarineLorD going to be looking to age up himself. We see almost enough resources to go. And we see the Vils moving out. As we suspected, it's going to be a Barbican. The question's going to be where it goes down. My pick is over on that sacred site, over on that central location. It's a really nice one, but he's heading more towards this kind of foodie area here.
I think he saw the scout and he was trying to avoid it, but LucifroN is doing a great job tracking those villagers. And it looks like it is going to be right next to that sacred site. It's actually a very nice spot because it's also going to help to a certain extent protect that food. It's going to be a little far away from it, but to control this east side of the map also means that you will have some level of safety on that hunt as well.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a really good spot for the Barbican to go down. I suspect LucifroN intentionally avoided this pond, knowing that the Barbican would probably be placed here. So if that's the case, very well read by LucifroN. Because had he gone into that pond, I don't think the fishing boats have got enough range on them to actually deny out that Barbican. Barbican, of course, has enough range to deny out that, and we see an outpost going to be coming down on the third pond here. LucifroN going to be facing an uphill battle from the start, it seems.
Yeah, that's a nice spot. That is going to shut down fishing eco on that pond. Barbican is going to take care of the other. Still, LucifroN does have that one pond to work with, and look at that. Boar being lured in to try and pick off the villager. That's going to be a nasty surprise over here for MarineLorD. We'll lose the villager to that. Now, is it going to aggro on the fishing ships? Yes, it is.
The madman actually did it. But the boar, I mean, it falls back. So, well played by LucifroN. I didn't think MarineLorD would lose a vill to the boar like that. But he just gave it up completely. But now the problem's going to be that MarineLorD is looking to neutralize all three of these ponds just using outposts. Not a single unit made at this point.
Another tower coming up over here. And I guess the worrisome detail here for LucifroN is that he's yet to get any torch units out on the field. So getting rid of these towers is going to be annoying. And you see there is going to be arrow slits as well, or hand cannon slits rather, on those towers. So getting rid of these will be a bit of a challenge. And MarineLorD will just use the fishing eco he has to go into Song Dynasty. And he does so from an eco advantage of 8 already.
Well, remember that it's... I'm pretty sure the counter doesn't include the fishing boats from the deli at the top. So it looks bad, but it's not as bad as it looks. So, yeah, I think it's 36-35 at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We do have the boar getting pulled once again on the south side, though. Just a bit relentless right now, LucifroN is. He's trying to find any way he can to bring himself back into this game. Fishing boat just going to be tanking up a fair bit of damage there before finally making its way towards that central location. The boar resets.
Yeah, it's very confusing that the deli fishing ships aren't shown on the top. You see that as one gets picked off, it's not going to get taken off from the 29 or 30 that we have up top. So, indeed, that should mean an equal number of eco for the time being until the Chinese Song Dynasty starts kicking in.
There we go. We've got a junk coming out. Now, remember, the Chinese docks build faster, so it means that this junk's going to be a lot sooner than what you'd expect from any other civilization. But obviously with the presence of horsemen here, the scout, the archer, indicating that maybe there might be an outpost coming through soon. So we do see 2 vills moving up. These guys are just going to be heading back in the opposite direction as, of course, that junk looks to deny that outpost and almost take out the villagers there. Oh, my lord, they're on such low health. Really nice reaction there from MarineLorD. And you can see the power of the Chinese on this map for their ability to react. Any other civilization, they would have been in a tough position there, not having that extra build speed or that extra production speed.
Indeed. And now we have a follow-up of Chukonus coming in here. LucifroN is going to play archers and horsemen over here, but he's yet to scout the Chukonus coming in. Villager actually got picked off. Second one survives.
And he gets the scout out. Can you believe this guy? Oh, I say that. He gets it out. He gets it out. Wow. That was a very nice snipe right there. I mean, I know he's French, but it was looking quite American, I gotta say. That was beautiful from MarineLorD. But yeah, as you mentioned, Jukunu coming through. +1 ranged attack also going to be coming through. Now, keep in mind, ranged armor is already through for LucifroN, so it's just going to be cancelling each other out. But we do see a pretty heavy focus on Jukunu, and there are spears present as well.
Yeah, so far so good for MarineLorD. He's been denying those sacred sites, and this is the first time that LucifroN is going to get any of them. But he's got to be cautious because he only has a handful of Chukunu right now here, and he's up against 6 horsemen, 9 archers already, so this is not a fight that he can take.
Yeah, this is a bit dangerous for him to be pushing out. You got to remember with Chukunu as well, it really becomes about maintaining your mass. Because with the way that Chukunu work, if you lose that mass, you're going to lose a huge bulk of the damage that you're putting out, because every Chukunu that stays alive is another Chukunu that your enemy's going to have to kill when the big fight inevitably happens. So the more you can keep on the battlefield, the better return it gets, just because the DPS is so high for these units.
Yeah, behind this one, LucifroN is stacking up food. Same is the case for MarineLorD. I'm actually curious how much LucifroN is going to commit to Feudal Age now. He went to the Tower of Victory, so I would expect him to be pretty aggressive here in Feudal.
What are the chances we see a demo right now? I tell you what, if I'm MarineLorD, I'm queuing one up. There it is. There's the demo. A little bit of a scramble. You can see him trying to keep this junk alive. He knows how important it is. And immediately we see, look at that. It's almost like he's baiting the junk to come out, or baiting the demo to come out. LucifroN knows that he's playing with fire, quite literally.
Yeah, decides to choose another angle here, and once again, numbers here aren't really good for MarineLorD to fight this off. He's got a lot of Chukunu, but he's got to be cautious. That's a lot of horsemen, and the archers are buffed by the Tower of Victory.
Continuing to push forward, though. Beautiful micro coming in from LucifroN, just pulling back the horsemen at the perfect time, but as you mentioned, those Tower of Victory archers on the back just teeing off non-stop. The spearmen have pretty much been cleaned up, but at the same time, not a lot of horsemen left. You can see just how quickly they cut these units down. And this is where China finds its gear. Look at this. This is just exactly where China loves to be. Now, keep in mind, we've seen one sacred site taken so far and secured from LucifroN. The age up's going to be coming through shortly, but MarineLorD is thinking about the same thing, baby.
Yeah, LucifroN is thinking about Castle Age, so is MarineLorD. Problem, I guess, for LucifroN is that he's right now on the back foot army-wise. MarineLorD is up to 20 Chukunu, and he has no desire to stop mass-producing them. Siege engineering even coming to play.
Yeah, this is one of those interesting matchups. In the last game we watched, I talked about the fact that players will often look to throw away their Chukunu as they're aging up, just simply because you don't really upgrade them. But in this matchup, it's one of the matchups that you can actually upgrade your Chukunu. You can look for +2 and veterancy on a timing attack, and you can do a lot of damage. And I suspect MarineLorD might look to do something like that as he continues to apply pressure. The age up's going to be coming through from LucifroN shortly. Still, that pressure is looking really solid here from MarineLorD. No horsemen whatsoever on this front line. Doc about to get up. He manages just to pull it off in time. So now going to be able to push through. Could be able to pick up intercept reinforcements as well.
Yeah, Castle Age now on the way for LucifroN. He's going up with the compound of the Defender, but he really will need to use it as a defensive landmark at this point, because he's going to be the one that has to defend against this push of the Chukunu. There's a barracks as well for MarineLorD, so we could see the addition of a couple of palace guards in a second. But what's more worrisome for LucifroN is that he's about to lose this one sacred site, and if he gets pinned inside his base, access to relics will also be very limited, so his gold income isn't going to be stellar.
Yeah, interestingly, the third relic also spawned on MarineLorD's side, so it makes it really hard for LucifroN to secure up all of those relics. He might have to end up sniping or snagging a relic, but the push going to continue happening here. LucifroN with the first of the Lancers in queue.
Yeah, access to food is somewhat limited here for LucifroN. Has to fall back. Starts popping out some men-at-arms, but on the opposing side, actually, never mind. MarineLorD isn't going up yet, and that's getting worrisome. He's floating a lot of food and gold.
He is floating a lot of resources, actually. This is equivalent to like 30 Chukunu that he's got sitting in his resource bank at the moment. Does get surrounded by the horsemen. Not really paying attention. These spears need to try and get to the front line. He should probably lose all of these just with the horsemen, the way that they're positioned, and the knight especially. Yeah, it looks like these Chukunu will probably be going down here. Tries his best to get them out. Could be a junk or something to try and help keep them alive. Reinforcements coming through. Sacred site neutralized. MarineLorD returns back to this safe little stealth forest that he's got here. Numbers still looking pretty solid for him though.
Yeah, he is. He's going to live to see Castle Age, but this wasn't optimal for him by any means. Was floating a lot of resources. Might actually be able to set this dock on fire with the army that he has over here, but he's still waiting for Castle Age, still floating 1600 wood. Probably just a little too focused on fighting this.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. Can we take a look at MarineLorD's base right now? Because, I mean, I know he's the best player in the world, but there's a part of me that feels like He's stacking up quite a lot of wood here. So, yeah, interestingly, only the 4 archery ranges at this point, 15 minutes into the game. Normally by this point, you'd expect about 7 or 8 archery ranges. So, just not able to keep up with the production of the demand. And you can see, even despite that, he's been able to hold really well. Like, he's effectively held up until this point. I suspect we're probably going to be seeing a second TC and a granary switch, rather, coming through shortly.
Yeah, now that he's up to Castle Age, he's gonna be all good. And yeah, his Castle Age was delayed quite heavily, but that's because he was focusing on those fights, and at least that paid off from the perspective that he took some very good engagements over there, managed to take down the dock. His army is a little slow compared to the knights that LucifroN will field, so that's something that could become a worrisome detail. But that's a lovely move. Start walling off the flanks, make sure that LucifroN can't just outrun you with lancers.
And that's a great way that he can get back into the game is through lancers. And that's exactly what we see him looking to do now. So, yeah, ideally looking to get your walls up. It's very hard on a map like this because even though it is closed off towards the center, it's very open towards the back of the base. So making sure that you've got a nice little safe pocket somewhere is always really handy. But look at this. Villager's going to get caught out of position. Beautiful job by MarineLorD. I would have loved to have seen him move these Chukunu a little bit closer to the enemy villagers before attacking, though. He could have taken out a lot more. Look at this timing from the... Look at the timing. He's rallying towards the gold mine. He just knows what his enemy's up to.
He saw that one Lancer slip by, and he knew fully well that it was going to target the gold mine. That's the prime spot. And that's a place where LucifroN did lose quite a lot of villagers before to him, so... That's definitely a target for that knight. Actually, it's a beautiful reaction by MarineLorD, and now this is starting to look grim here for LucifroN. He's got village fortresses getting closer and closer, but he's yet to drop a keep. Has just one relic being brought back home, one sacred site under his control, dubious amount of food still available, and a substantially larger army right now for MarineLorD.
Yeah, I got to agree. It definitely feels like MarineLorD's in the driver's seat in this game. He's got a huge economic advantage, and he's just done a great job in capping sacred sites, keeping the sacred sites down. You know, we've seen games where Delhi's gone to 3 sacred sites and has still struggled to win the game. And you've got LucifroN who can barely hold 1 sacred site. It's not pretty. MarineLorD just constantly picking up these raids as well. LucifroN trying to find a way back into it, but just unable to. It's so tough for him right now. MarineLorD getting a lot of value out of that ram as well. That ram has done work along this central front.
It for sure
Took out the
did.
outpost, took out docks. It's been taking names. Look at this bad boy go. He made this ram like what, 4 or 5 minutes ago, and it's just been cleaning house.
Yeah, it's great value, and now there is no fishing eco for LucifroN, so what we have up top, that 75 to 53 eco lead, that's realistic. Now, it looks like LucifroN will be able to cut into that. I mean, literally, picks off 1 villager, but if you only pick 1 villager for a price of a Lancer, that's actually a terrible trade. Once again, lovely to see MarineLorD keeping a couple of crossbows back at home to deal with those raids.
More Lancers slowly trickling through. Now, one thing to note is that MarineLorD has picked up +2 ranged attack and veterancy for his Chukunu. However, this is cancelled out by the fact that the Lancers have got +2 ranged armor. So you've got 7 damage up against 6 armor. So they're only doing that 1 damage at a time. But we do see a second keep thrown up here. So the equivalent of 3 TCs now for LucifroN. If he's playing to win, it's going to have to be in the Imperial Age. And it's definitely an option for him to do it. The problem is he's going up against the Chinese, who are one of the best late game civilizations there is.
Yeah, I think the more worrisome detail is that now you're facing 40 Chukunu. We are getting to that critical mass. And you also have limited access to food. Once again, Berry villagers getting caught off guard over here. Bit of a slow reaction by LucifroN. Loses 5 villagers in the crossfire before they are garrisoned in the keep.
Do we see rams thrown down right here? I feel like it could be a good time for rams. Maybe he goes back for trebuchets. Yeah, it's going to be trebs. So MarineLorD looking to deal with this in a... I guess I'd call would you say trebs are less mobile than rams? It definitely feels that way to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair thing to say. It's probably also about the fact that with rams, if you have 4 or 5 of them, you can commit and just go. And you might as well support them with your army anyways, otherwise they get torched down, so you will just pick off repair villagers. Whereas with trebuchets, you just shell the castle, and your opponent keeps repairing for minutes and minutes. You don't want to give your opponent that window to hold you off for 5 or so minutes with a single keep.
Exactly. That's the way I think about it as well. And we do see MarineLorD with the first treb now out. Second one is coming through, so he does mean business in this game. But interestingly, never went into the second TC. So sticking only on the one TC for the moment. He's been on Song Dynasty this whole time. Yet to see the granary transition as well. At least from what I can see on the minimap, it doesn't look like we've got the granary transition just yet.
We have palace guards though, and that's big. LucifroN's army is almost exclusively archers, which would maybe even work well against those Chu canoes, especially if they're buffed by the Tower of Victory. But when you have a mix of Chu canoes and palace guards like that, that's a different story, and MarineLorD is looking to take a fight here. He has the first trebuchet coming in. No battering rams, it seems. It will be just clock tower trebuchets. And he's also about to cap the third sacred site, so he will put LucifroN on a timer.
Yeah, it definitely feels like, oh, you can see he's throwing up whether he wants to pick up the relic or not. But, yeah, now that battering ram's coming through. First of the trebuchets on the way as well here. And MarineLorD's army just continues to climb. Manages to get this wall up towards the north. Beautiful timing on this wall. Does leave the end open. So those lancers could have snuck through. But they decide to reroute. And that treb going to be working its magic. At this point, you'd have to give a huge advantage to MarineLorD, though. It feels like he's got so many things going for him. He's got the army lead. He's got the tech lead. Definitely has the economic lead at this point, up by about 20 vils.
Absolutely. Right now, there's a gigantic lead in MarineLorD's hands. He's going to have the relic lead. He has the 3 sacred sites. He has the positional advantage. Very difficult for LucifroN to cut into that eco deficit. No raiding potential. And he has 24 palace guards that hard counter the archers that he has on the field.
Yeah, this is a good call. There are a fair amount of lancers that are building, though. He's up to 9 lancers. Remember, they do have the double ranged armor, so the Chukanuke not going to be doing a whole lot of damage, but the crossbowmen, they should be able to effectively dispatch of them. Managed to catch some of these units out of position. I'd love to see mangonels from LucifroN. Honestly, at this point, 2 or 3 mangonels would go a really long way in helping him in this fight. And Lance is looking for a surround here. Going to be able to find it. But now the push is coming to shove as the archers tee off on that backline. He's going to have to make sure he continues kiting back towards his keeps that he's got, but he's not going to be looking to kite. Instead, just going to stick it. More palace guards going to be pushing up. Now we see that kite coming through. A lot of damage in on these palace guards, but there's so many of them to deal with. Look how many palace guards just flood through, and the numbers here looking incredible from MarineLorD. I think this might be it. LucifroN falling back away from this fight. The military population now less than half what his enemies got. If he loses this game, the series is over, and it will be certain that he's facing his brother in the grand finals.
Yeah, and there is the keep drop by MarineLorD. Pedal to the metal, and he takes game number 3 in a reverse sweep manner, Aussie. LucifroN leading 2-0, 1 game away from avoiding his brother in the semifinals. And then MarineLorD comes in and says, okay, the next set you play in Golden League, it will be against your brother.
Yeah, so unfortunate for the Spanish brothers. They will have to go up against each other in the semi-final. And incredibly well played there from MarineLorD. MarineLorD somehow managing to put the gas down at the perfect time. Tell you what, you got to have some real mental fortitude to be down in a set 2-0 and still manage to find a way to lift in that third game.
Yeah, it's tricky, right? But you have to look back at that feudal age, where LucifroN, he had Tower of Victory. That's a landmark where you want to build up feudal age lead with the archers. Never really materialized. Went to Castle Age, but could never really cut into the eco deficit of MarineLorD. MarineLorD just got away with what was only a 1 TC Song Dynasty boom, but because there was so little passive gold income for LucifroN, that was still a much more effective economy, and just look at that, 9,000 more gold by the Chinese player compared to the Delhi one.
That's a huge difference between the gold incomes. That's crazy, isn't it? That's on another level. That is crazy.